we'd like to welcome you to our session here today. So this is our session is on self-paced learning in our 4-H after school program. And so we're going to be highlighting one of our clubs where we've used self-paced learning and kind of go into some of the features that we have discovered have really made it work. So before we do that, my name is Dobesh. I'm a 4-H educator in Seward County. And my role in Seward County is to coordinate the overall 4-H program and bring learning experiences to youth in a variety of different ways. So I work with our staff to bring after school programs, school enrichment, and then of course our 4-H club based program. And then Lori Hamling is our after school coordinator.
Hi, guys. Yes, as she said, I'm the after school coordinator at the Seward County Extension office. I work up front with 2 other gals as well, but the after school program is my main priority. It'd be 14 years that I've been there now, helping out with the program, and really enjoy it.
All right, so we've kind of 4 different things we want to cover today. So our goal is primarily to explore how self-paced learning can be used as a delivery strategy in after-school programs. So we know just by visiting with a lot of different folks out there that there's a lot of different ways that after-school programs are delivered. And so we've just been very curious about self-paced learning as a strategy, and in one of our clubs we've discovered that that's worked really well. So we're going to dive into that. That's one of the things we'll be diving into later, but first we want to share with you a little bit about our program, our overall 4-H after school program in Seward County. We'll talk to you about Discover Sewing and a little bit about how that started and how it has grown over the years. Again, get into the self-paced learning experiences. And we want you to have the chance to explore and try out some of the things that we've brought here today. I think I've got one.
Oh, yeah. Thanks. You can have a seat if you'd like. You could. Okay. All righty. Okay. Yeah. Before we get going here, if you want to walk around and take a look at some of the things on the tables, you're more than welcome to. Some of you may not know what some of the things are on the table. So if you have questions about what they are, just ask Ann. She knows it all. These are just a few slides or a few photos of 4-H after school in Seward County. So basically, what do we want after school to look like in Seward County? For us, the most important thing is to find their spark. We try really hard to listen to them, to know what they want, listen to their teachers, what they suggest to us. We want to find their interests because a lot of their interests are obviously different than ours as adults, or even what ours were at a younger age. And build those skills as they move on through a 4-H after school club. Safety is huge. It's important to me, I guess, when 3:30 hits and they're headed our way to either our office or we are there delivering an after school club, they know they're in a safe place. They can count on us. They can talk to us. They can tell us whatever needs that they need from us. It's just super important because if we didn't have that, they're not going to come. There's just that certain feeling to be shared between adult and a student. It's super, super nice to have that connection. Same with adult youth relationships. A lot of the teachers that we get for 4-H after school, I rely on volunteers. We do take our office staff does go out to the locations in the schools, but finding volunteers that have a special niche or a skill that they can share is what we're looking for. So we're constantly listening and just trying to find what they have to offer as well besides what we have at the office. We do provide them with the curriculum. If they, like say if they have watercolor as a passion, we will help supplement that technique or skill with the curriculum that we have. So our after school clubs in Seward County, they can really last a variety of ranges. Sometimes I get Concordia University students to come in and teach. Well, those kids have crazy schedules. So sometimes it only works once a week for them, maybe 2 times a week. Maybe it's only for 4 weeks or 6 weeks. Whatever works for the teacher that we find or a volunteer, we work with them to make it work. Locations vary. The one we're going to talk to you about today, Discover Sewing, is currently meeting at our office. But normally we go into the schools like a cafeteria setting or a larger classroom area or a family and consumer science room. The curriculum that we offer varies. You name it, we can bring it to the kids, from rocketry to healthy lifestyles, nutrition, woodworking, electricity, sewing. We can bring it all to them. And we try our best to bring to them what they're wanting. What I do is I normally make up a brochure. I have a brochure on the table with the green heading there. Those go out to all the kids in whichever particular grade we've chosen for that club, along with the registration form. They get that registration form back to the school secretary, and then I go pick them up. And along with a small fee, then I go collect that and we get them all signed up. Normally for a 4-H after school club, I like to keep it around 12 youth. It's pretty hard when you get over that number sometimes to maintain a good environment. We do offer scholarships. Those fees range anywhere from $10 to $20. And we always have a lesson plan included for each week as they're moving along. And now to Discover Sewing, why you're all here. Oh,
I guess.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Turn
yes.
this in
Yeah.
here. But as we transition to Discover Sewing, we would invite you to pick up a tool at your table, even if you have never sewn. How many of you have ever had any type of sewing experience? Okay, so you have. Okay, all right. So pick up any of those tools and maybe just take a minute to talk amongst yourselves, or we can come visit with you and take a guess as to what those are used for. So we'll come around. Yeah. 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 Yes. So yeah, we've actually, at the tables, we have some of the different things that the kids have made. And with it being afternoon, we know that it might be a good time to also put your head down on on a pillow. But yeah, so see, these are the cubes that the kids made, right? Yeah, right. And a little bag, some pillows. Yep. All right. And then amongst all of those items are also some tools. So anybody have any guesses as to what those tools might be used for? Yes. Yeah. So I think on each table, there's some type of measuring device, measuring gauge, some type of ruler. There's also other scissors, needles, all kinds of different tools that the kids get to use and experience. And one of the things that we love about sewing, even though these kids might not go on to do a lot of sewing in the long term, one of the things we love is they are learning so many things along the way. There's so much figuring things out as you go. They get to use equipment. So the sewing machine is an amazing piece of technology, and the kids actually get to what we sometimes will call it driving the sewing machine, because they're putting their foot down on the pedal and they have to work on the speed. So a little bit of a driving lesson there. So yeah. All right. So Lori's going to talk a little bit about how actually the Discover Sewing group got going.
Yeah, so about 3 years ago, up at Seward Middle School, I had at that time, she was a librarian assistant and she's an avid sewer. And her and I had both spoken, and we wanted to bring a sewing club to the middle school. So we got our one pattern. I think it was just a pillowcase, and we gave it a shot. And I think we had 4 or 5 kids that signed up. And she had 2 sewing machines. The extension office had a couple. We took them up there, and they made their pillowcases. They loved it. They truly loved it. They wanted more. And yeah, 6 students. It might have been 6. I can't remember. But after that, we didn't offer it again until the next semester. And we had, I think, 13 kids that wanted to join the sewing club. So it didn't really feel like it would work up at the middle school. So we decided to offer it at our office. We have a larger meeting space in our office. So that's where we decided to take it. And that's when the excitement started. They now, they're meeting once a week. The club that you see on that brochure is going to start October 18th. Not quite once a week. Some days they're out for school or whatever, holidays on certain weeks, but we're going to take it till about the end of January and move forward like that. And there's our meeting room space at the extension office in Seward. It's much bigger. We have tables on rollers, so we can set up the room to fit our needs. And what you're seeing there are kids that are getting ready to cut their fabric on the table. Some are already sewing in the background there. It's just a nice environment with also a kitchen area in the back of it. This area, we can fit up to about 15 sewers in that room comfortably. Any more than that, it gets a little crazy. It's easy for us because I can pop into the other room, grab my supplies, grab if they need something printed or whatnot. We do have parents mostly will bring their students to the extension office. But we do have public transit that is available to go up to the middle school and bring them to our office. The school bus, unfortunately, doesn't go by our office, so that's not really an option for us. It's very, very flexible. This club, we're not, if the kids can't make it for a certain amount of days, that's fine. They're just moving along at their own pace. And I didn't want that to deter them. I just wanted them to be able to pick and choose days that would work for them. And it's a caring environment. As soon as they walk in our office, we've got big smiles and they're headed to the back and they're ready to sit down and just move forward. I've got 8 projects chosen with my volunteers this year, what they're going to work on. And you'll see there's some pictures of them on there. Some of them are very basic. Some of them get a little more detailed with zippers and such. But in the past, we've done pillowcases, scrunchies, aprons, floor pillows, key fob. I should have brought a floor pillow. Those were super popular. They were probably over double the size of the sprocket pillow that you see on the table. The kids, there was a lot of stuffing with that one. So that one took a while. But they start out as a group, and they're all working at their own pace, which is very unique to watch. Have any of you ever put a zipper in? Well, it can take an 11-year-old almost 45 minutes to put in a zipper sometimes. It's a learning curve. It's maybe taking it out and starting over. Then there's also putting, sewing on a button. So there's just different paces that you work back and forth with the kids, and they're just moving along. There's no stress involved. And that's what's making it work. And once they've got a project done, they progress to the next one that they'd like to try. I've also encouraged some of the kids that are coming back are a little older, 13. There might be a 14-year-old this year. They want more. So I've encouraged them to bring their own projects. If they've got a sewing project at home they want to work on, I'm more than happy to let them come in. They do not have to follow what's on here. It's just a great space for them to work, kind of like a maker space, a sewing maker space for them to work on things as they move forward. So does that explain that pretty good? Do you have any questions about that? No? Okay. All right. I'll let Ann take it from here.
All right. So as I shared earlier, one of the factors or the components that makes this club work, we think, is the self-paced part of it. And that's different for us. I realize other after-school programs may already offer that, but for us, most of the time we're coming in like once a week, and we might have a lesson plan or an activity for that particular week. And so what we've discovered with this group, it just really works to let the kids work at a pace that works for them. And so that is what self-paced learning is. Oh, let's see, I might have skipped one. Yeah, it's basically they're completing projects or tasks at a pace that meets their level of development and mastery. So for sewing, they might be coming to us with some experience, most with no experience at all. This next year, we'll have a group coming in that's already done it before, so it'll bring some new challenges, but it's really based on what their needs are. And I think particularly in that after-school setting, they've had this full day at school, a variety of structured experiences. So coming and having a little bit more relaxed environment where they can learn something but work at their own pace has really worked in this particular program. And so to make that work, these are some of the things that we have observed that really make that experience a positive one. So first of all, a progression. So a set of learning experiences that build on each other. So they're not all going to start out with putting a zipper in. So they're going to start out with a project that's much simpler, and then they can complete that, progress to the next one. And so that's with sewing types of projects, they really lend themselves well to that. But we think there are other types of projects that would do that as well. The next one is collaborative learning. So there is nothing that we've discovered like sewing that lends itself to collaborative learning with both the youth and adults. Things don't work the first time many times, and that provides an opportunity for the kids to undo something, redo, kind of figure something out. Maybe their project's going to end up a lot smaller than what they thought because they're just sewing wider seam allowances, and that's okay. We work with them to help them discover that they can make changes, they can adapt it, make changes along the way, or they work together to solve problems. One of the really neat things that we've seen happen in this group is the strong relationship building. And to me, I don't work with this club frequently, but being in the office, I walk through and meet the kids and interact. And it's really neat to see the relationships that are forming between them and the volunteers and amongst each other. And just the silly jokes that go on. It is kind of funny, even this, instead of the water cooler, it's the ironing board and chatting around the ironing board about stuff from the school day or whatever else. And then another core component is volunteers and staff. And so we've been really blessed to have two amazing volunteers. They have to be organized and plan everything out in advance, and yet be very flexible at the same time. And so it's been fun to watch our volunteers even grow in that flexibility, because you don't know what each week is going to hold. So I think that's a key part of it. And of course, you have to have the supplies and equipment. Sewing, like many other project experiences, requires certain equipment and supplies. So we've been able to create a space where we have that set up and ready for them. And then a safe and welcoming environment. And like Lori has referenced, it's fun to see the kids walk into the office and then they go back into their room. And by probably about 3 or 4 weeks into it, our meeting room is now their meeting room. I mean, they own it, they come in and that is their space for that time after school. There is some research on self-paced classrooms. And this is more in a formal educational setting. So actually in school, where students might be working, there really is self-pacing, but there's a certain level of mastery that's expected at the end of it. And the research on self-paced classrooms shows that these types of setups build self-confidence. So kids are more confident because there's not the pressure necessarily to complete something in a certain amount of time. I mean, eventually there certainly are time limits, but it's not the stricter time limits that we often have. It differentiates for their needs. We all learn at different paces and in different ways. So having a self-paced learning environment does that. Supports their social emotional needs. And I think we really see this in after school, is just having that time to decompress, having a little more relaxed and self-paced environment helps to do that. And then also supports their self-regulation. So they have choice in how much they're going to do that day. And some days they, might be ready to take on a lot, and then there might be other days when they're not. So these are some of the things that we've seen, and Discover Sewing's in its 3rd year. And so all 12 students from last year want to return, which is pretty cool, we think. I think that says a lot. We have one youth from the group who's taken what she's learned, and she was going to take, and I think one of the projects was a scrunchie. So she was going to take and teach it to another club that she was in. So felt confident enough about the skills that she had learned so that she was going to go teach it. And then also to sew some pillowcases on her own as a service project. And so that wasn't even something that was planned and a part of the club, but was just going to take a step further. So we love to see that. We love to see when they are taking their experiences and extending them. And then we're also seeing an openness to challenge. As Lori said, the kids are asking for more difficult things this year. And so, yeah, we're going to offer some more challenging projects and even give them a chance to bring something of their own that they're interested in. And again, like we've shared, we've seen those relationships form. A lot of positive conversations that occur, some silly conversations, but that's all part of it. And that sense of belonging. So I guess what we're curious to know right now, and I don't know, we have a small group here. We'd be curious to know about your experiences. Do you have some type of self-paced program as a part of your after-school experiences right now? Is this something that you can see working into the programs that you have? So we'd maybe we'll just take a pause here and give you a chance to visit with each other. And then if there's anything else, you know, any ideas that you have that you'd like to share back, we would welcome that conversation. Did you want to speak to that? I would echo that. I mean, not a lot of people sew now, you know, and and that's okay. But what some of the things that you talk about tying a knot and threading a needle and how that's so hard. And I think that even speaks to, you know, the continual development of those fine motor skills and how that is challenging, and that's one of the things that we see, that where the sewing can still help with those types of skills, but yes, it seems to occur a little bit later.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, it has been really interesting.
And I think part of that is just, I mean, just the time that we're in. You don't need to, you know, it used to be you needed, or sewing helped you be more efficient with your resources. And that's not the case right now, but it does provide a creative outlet for kids, and that sense of accomplishment by making something, I think is something that is, oh, obviously we've seen from the 12 kids that want to return to it. Yeah, and this, as we shared, the sewing has really lended itself to that. If any type of sewing experience ends up being self-paced anyway, because the kids just work at different paces. But we think there's other ways that self-pacing can be incorporated into programs. And I think that's the point that we're at is, okay, we're going to continue with this particular club, but what else can we offer that provides that same environment, provides the opportunity to choose a project, work at it, and then go on to the next one. And then also all those other things that are happening at the same time that creates that environment where the kids develop friendships and have this sense that they belong to the group. Okay, so some of the options right now that we're kind of looking at that we think would lend themselves well to this sort of thing. So we'd like to do a take apart club. So instead of actually making something to bring in some equipment that the kids could at their own pace take apart and learn about what's going on in those machines. So we also think a circuitry type of project would lend itself to this. We've done a little bit with circuits, like light up cards where they will put down copper tape, sorry, and create some simple light up cards. But we're exploring that. Arts and crafts really do lend themselves to these types of things, and the kids do love them. This isn't in after school, but we've had a crochet group, and it was just a small group of a volunteer and 5 youth. And I don't know how many times Lori was out over the summer. They met a number of different times, and they weren't all working at the same things at the same time. But that group was really fun because it was like a little knitting circle. They would come in, they would work at their projects, but my favorite part was the conversations that were happening as they're crocheting away. And this adult volunteer and group of 4 or 5 kids around a table knitting and chatting was really fun to see.
Yeah, it reminded me of the 70 plus and over when they go to coffee, and it was just like that. They would come in and just casually grab their yarn and their needle, and it was just so fun to watch.
Yeah. And then we have done an entrepreneurship marketing club where explore the idea of doing that self-paced. Last year we did, the club learned how to make candy and then developed logos and slogans. And then they actually had a night where community members were invited in to come and purchase the candy that they had made. So they each had a little table set up, and folks could come in and purchase their goods. It'd be fun to tie something like that to a farmer's market as well. So just lots of ideas out there for different ways to include self-pacing. And with that, I think that's our presentation. Yeah. So again, you're welcome to explore some of the things that we have. If you've never used a sewing machine, we actually brought one along, and we'll let you take a drive at it if you would like to. But with that, are there any questions?